Hi, I'm Lisa Fletcher, and you're in the stream. Today, Myanmar's Rohingya. They are considered to be one of the most oppressed minority groups in the world. Who's responsible, and what can be done to help them? Our digital producer, Malika Bilal, is across the table from me, as usual, watching all your live feedback as it comes in. Tweet her using the hashtag AJStream. Malika, today's show topic was actually pitched by a number of members of our community.
Lisa, we've been getting calls daily asking us to cover this story. And in particular, we got a request from a member of our community in Nigeria, Hamid Drama, who wanted the AJStream take on it. So Hamid, if you're watching, tweet us. Join the conversation. Use the hashtag AJStream.
Joining us in the studio is Waqar Uddin, chairman of the Burmese Rohingya Association of North America. Waqar, so glad to have you here.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
We are also looking forward to hearing from you, our online community. So if you want to send us a comment about Rohingya or suggestions for a future stream show, you can just post your thoughts on our Facebook wall. Go to facebook.com/AJStream.
Hi, my name is Omoyele Shore, student journalist at Sahara Reporters. I'm in the stream.
They are considered one of the most persecuted minority groups in the world. The Rohingyas are a stateless people with no rights to citizenship. And for decades, they have faced racial and religious discrimination in northwestern Myanmar. Since June, violence between Muslim Rohingyas and Buddhist Rakhine have forced many Rohingya to flee from their homes. Some have gone to refugee camps, while others take dangerous risks by sneaking into neighboring Bangladesh. Earlier this month, Myanmar's President Thein Sein said the only solution to the Rohingyas' plight would be to move them out of the country or into United Nations-run refugee camps. He said, quote, "We'll send them away if any third country would accept them." This is just Myanmar's view, but what other solutions exist? Now, it's important to mention that we invited members of the Burmese government to appear on our show or provide us with someone to represent their position. We are still waiting to hear a response from them. So, Dr. Dean, you know, things have been looking pretty good to the outsiders rather, in Myanmar lately. You know, they seem to have opened up politically. A lot's going on there. They seem to be becoming more progressive. Yet things for the Rohingyas are getting worse. Well, what's going on? Is this ethnic cleansing? Explain it to us.
Yes, this Burmese military-based dominated the government is playing a very clever card. They're playing a card of business and openness. What they are doing is luring international community into their tricks that investment, business, opening up, democratic reform, these are all happening in mainland central Burma. They have released Aung San Suu Kyi, who is a Burman, and they are releasing political prisoners, limited number of political prisoners. They are mainly Burmese, very few ethnic minorities. So they are showing international community that we are moving toward democracy.
But they're orchestrating everything that everyone sees?
Right. Yet, they are basically carrot and stick policy. While they are doing that, they are depriving of rights from the ethnic minorities, particularly Rohingya, and there are some Kachin and others as well, but Rohingya situation is much more serious than others. So while they are saying democratic reform, they are ignoring the core value of democracy, which is human right. They are not addressing that issue. They are trying to divert international attention to business, investment, and trade. So yet they are getting harder on ethnic minorities, particularly Rohingya. Can you imagine a president of the country, the highest office holder in the country, would say a statement like that these ethnic minorities, the Rohingya, needs to be transferred to third country. They don't belong here, or they must be kept in a camp. Is that democracy?
It's astounding. It's an astounding comment. Malika, I know our community has been chiming in on this since we first announced we were doing the show.
They have. And Lisa, you mentioned earlier in the show about recent openness that Myanmar is being shown. There's a tweet here from Jacob. He says, it's possible that American openness to Burma has more to do with competition with China than good Burmese behavior. But that's followed up by a video comment from a member of our community. And Dr. Rakar, I'd like you to have a listen. This is more in favor of the government.
It's impossible to force all Rohingyas in Myanmar to move out. Likewise, it's practically impossible to define every single people claim themselves as Rohingyas in Bangladesh as Myanmar citizen. With reference to what Aung San Suu Kyi said, it's something to be solved by rule of law. And when we say law, it should be the existing law. No other countries nor powerful organization should force a country to change its law, unless public wishes to change it and draw from Myanmar.
He references a lot of things there, but what he says is there's something to be said for a solution with rule of law. Is the rule of law working currently?
What kind of law he is talking about? Who made that law? He is talking about law. Aung San Suu Kyi was referring to 1982 citizenship law. That was a black law, we call it, international community call it, the instituted by the army government. Is that supported by majority of Burmese people, Burmese community, all ethnic minorities? Absolutely not. So Aung San Suu Kyi was referring to law. Nobody knew what she was referring to, the black law of the army of 1982 or the standard international law, the law that is accepted by a civilized community of the world community that has as a standard. So in human rights, with Geneva Convention and other things. So that was a vague statement. I understand why she's in that position. But this Burmese, radical Burmese and Rakhine are translating, interpreting, or purposefully saying that law, that the military government instituted law should be followed.
Dr. Dean, for those who aren't as familiar with this issue, kind of explain the root of what's going on, how far back in Burma's history this goes, and the scope of the problem. How many people are we talking about that are being affected day in and day out?
This question can be answered very explicitly, very in detail by Dr. Abid Bahar and Dr. Habib Siddiqui, who will be in the conference in Bangkok. But I will tell you briefly, according to history, the Rohingya, the name is derived from region of Rohang. So Rohingya is an adjective of Rohang, noun. It is a northern state of Arakan state, northern Arakan state. Those Rohingya people living in Rohang has been many centuries. They dates back as far way back as 9th century. Then Burma was not even in existence. That piece of land in northern Rakhine state shifted hands. The Persian has ruled it, part of Mughal has ruled it, Rakhine kingdom has ruled that region, and Burmese, Bodapaya and all that, Burmese king has ruled it, and then British came in and went back to Burma. During World War II, part of this Rohingya was occupied by Japanese troops. So there have been shifting of things. But no matter what happened, who ruled? The people of the region, indigenous population, Rohingya, were there. Now, after the independence, the UNU's government, civilian government, democratically elected government, has recognized Rohingya, and we were as part of the national race and ethnic minority, and we are on the radio program, national radio program run by Burmese government. We are given citizenship. We are automatically like any other citizen of Burma. It's no different, but really history has turned 180 degrees in 1962 when military dictator General Ne Win overthrew the civilian government and imposed military rule, dictatorship. And now since 1962, Rohingya has been discriminated, and they are trying to do ethnic cleansing, eliminate the population. And for 60 years now, history is in the making, 60 years in the making. So now we are in a very difficult position.
I want to bring in another guest who is going to be joining us via Skype from Washington, D.C. His name is John Sifton. He's the Asia Advocacy Director for Human Rights Watch. John, your organization just released a new report on Rohingyas and the ongoing violence in Rakhine State. It is titled, "Government Could Have Stopped This." Why didn't they?
That's a very good question. As the previous guests have pointed out, Burma is changing. Burma is under a new government way of doing things, but when it comes to the policy with Rohingya, it seems that very little has changed. We continue to see a policy of pretending that the Rohingya are not citizens of Burma, and embracing of a citizenship law which is contrary to international law. What we saw during this latest round of violence was a central government that had some interest in stopping the worst effects of the violence, less out of concern for the Rohingya, more out of just the embarrassment of it. But local government forces in Arakan State doing very little to stop the violence. Local government forces, in fact, taking part in the violence. So what we see now is a big test of Burma's so-called reform, and so far Burma's failing.
And speaking of that test, there's a tweet here from Saksith who says, if there ever was a Myanmar spring towards openness, etc., it's gone by now and has shown its ugly head. But John, there's also a tweet here from Monica who says, the main issue here is that they are stateless, and this is something you just mentioned. She says they need to either be integrated as full citizens of Myanmar and or Bangladesh. Can you speak about other countries' roles, Bangladesh's role in this?
Well, Bangladesh has also played a very poisonous role during this crisis by not letting Rohingya citizens in who are crossing the River Naf or have taken to the Bay of Bengal to escape from points further south. So what we have here is a situation where Burma's government hasn't done enough to stop the violence, and then Bangladesh is not allowing Rohingya into the country. Sheikh Hasina, the leader of Bangladesh, said some very cruel things over the weekend, suggesting that Rohingya are not citizens. Well, if they're not citizens of Bangladesh and they're not citizens of Burma, then whose citizens are they? Instead of saying that they're stateless people, I would submit that quite a number of them are Bangladeshi citizens and quite a number of them are Burmese citizens. There's a lot of legal arguments for both. There are people who want to be in Bangladesh. There are people who want to be in Burma. If there were proper laws that were according to international law and in compliance with international law, those people would have citizenship, and you wouldn't see a lot of the discrimination that is at the root of so much of the violence that's taken place.
John, I want to get back to the Human Rights Watch report that you just released today. First, I want our viewers to be able to listen to some of the interviews that Human Rights Watch conducted with Rohingyas who described some of the violence they endured at the hands of Burmese security forces.
Military ay bade machar goro goli den don ma den lon fa gura to phone ko lopai bade hino nyalai bade ngir fisat bandele ad mare fistu lati mari liane nyalai bade majoi bade bishi gya gori bade ngir lati mari bade ngir fis lati mari bade hino den norongori wala gura wani no jani den ara hino ri dale
halwara yare bade halwara yare ar ka handa boshi era ayar meti 200 tai mogor hoile to mili লড়াই গুলি মারা মাদে বাদে আরা 50 জন ডায়ে মাদা ছিলুম এন তো আরা দুজন আসি আর গিয়া 23 জন হড়ে গিয়ে লম্বর মারলে লম্বর নত বন্ধ
John, I know for your purposes you couldn't see the subtitles on that. Obviously, since it's your report, you know they were talking about the atrocities and the torture situation that so many people were put in. Talk about some of the specifics that your organization came up with in its conclusions for the report.
Well, what you saw was sort of different waves of violence. At the outset, Rakhine citizens engaging in violence against Rohingya and local forces taking part in the violence or turning a blind eye when it happened. Later on, we had reports of Nasaka, the border forces, and local police going village to village, rounding people up and disappearing an untold number of Rohingya men and young boys into Nasaka detention. So you have the violence, you have people who lost their homes, lost their relatives. The entire Muslim quarter of Situa was burned to the ground. It's very serious. And then you have this disappearances. And then lastly, you have this refugee crisis, displacement, IDPs, internally displaced people within Burma, and then all these displaced folks in Bangladesh. In the short term, Burma's got to provide access to both humanitarian groups and independent human rights monitors. And in the longer term, they've got to invite in non-governmental organizations and UN experts who can help with a long-term reconciliation project, reform the citizenship law, move towards a number of reconciliation efforts, embracing both the local Rakhine population and who have their own problems with the central government, I should add. So the local Rakhine population and Rohingya, and moving that forward. One big step that we're pushing is for Burma to invite the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights to set up an office in Burma to monitor this situation, but also other ethnic conflict situations in Kachin State, for instance, as well as political prisoners and other human rights issues. That would be a big first step. If they could do that, we'd be on the way to, maybe starting to move towards a reconciliation process.
Well, Kar, I think I think the members of our community would agree with what John is saying. But one thing that is brought up, we hear these harrowing stories that we just saw, but there's also a question, especially for our purposes, on what's real and what's not. Shuja on Twitter says, my first question is it actually true? The treatment of Muslims in Burma, many pictures on social media seem to be totally fake. I'd like to play this video comment from a member of our community in Myanmar.
Firstly, the violence happened only in border area and nearer town of Rakhine State. All other parts of the country where both Muslims and Buddhists live remain peaceful. Obviously, it's not a religious clash. I like to ask all the international media why they are portraying it as a religious clash. And it's the violence that happened. How can threatening with jihad, protesting by burning on the flags and president photos, manipulating and propagating figures on social media help the situation to solve? I'm Chen from Myanmar.
So Lisa and Wakar, she says basically how can propagating this on social media help this issue? Of course, I know that you have the photos we were just looking at a little bit earlier.
Yeah, this is amazing actually. Take a look at some of these. These are some photos that have been posted online. This one says the body of Muslims slaughtered by Buddhists. But then if you go down a little farther, you actually discover that that photo was from the 2010 earthquake in China, and those are Tibetans trying to help rescue the victims. Another one that's been circulating online is this one. It says more than 1,000 people killed in Burma. It's also fake. This was from Thailand in 2004. And they go on and on and on. These aren't just misleading, but they're flat out false, and they create these terrible sentiments toward people that don't deserve it. What are your thoughts on this?
Yes, this is a big problem, now emerging problem. This Burmese media and these hardliners is playing this kind of game. International community will have to get hard on them. Yesterday I received some picture that then made me sick. The picture it was from China or Vietnam somewhere a long time ago. A woman, a little girl killed, and they slit their throat and all that, and they're putting as a Rohingya because these Chinese and Vietnamese look Oriental, so it's more likely they're putting that into Burmese context. What these radicals and extremists and Burmese, some elements in Burmese government doing is tainting the international media. Wherever their real picture coming, they want to taint that. So each time one true picture, authentic picture comes, they'll flood with 20. So making that real picture, authentic picture also false. So they are really doing a media war. And Twitter is not helping, Facebook is not helping, because as soon as the gruesome murder took place, it was all over the Twitter, all over Facebook, calling for more of this kind of attack. So the media is good, but unfortunately they are using this as a tool to discredit Rohingya. And then they are turning the table using media effectively. So this is unfortunate.
And John, we're talking about, of course, actors outside of Myanmar, but there's a video comment here. You can't see it, but have a listen. I'd like your thoughts afterwards.
Hello, my name's Kirsten and I'm from Singapore. Considering that there are many Burmese people who refuse to even admit the legitimacy of the term Rohingya, how can we get Burma as a country to be more accepting and to change the mindset of the people? Thank you.
John, how do we go about changing mindsets?
Well, this is the core issue that goes to everything Human Rights Watch does all over the world. We've often found in all of our research that when people kill other people or slaughter them or ethnically cleanse other people, it's not because they think that they're human beings who are equal to them and deserve human rights, but they're not going to give it to them. It's because they don't think that they're deserving of it. They don't think that they're similar to them, like humans like them. So it's all about reconciliation. That's not our area of expertise. Our area of expertise is research. And we went in, we showed what was going on here, what the abuses were. It's now up to reconciliation experts to come in and help the Burmese government do what it needs to do to literally change the mindset of Burmese citizens. Because right now it's a poisonous atmosphere where even members of the reformists, the pro-democracy crowd have said some hateful things about the Rohingya that have done them no favors with us who have supported their cause for so many years. So it's very important that at this point, Burma itself as a country, as a government, recognize that the way forward is not more hateful speech, but to start doing the sort of programming and efforts that are taken under in post-conflict situations to get people to realize that these people are not subhumans. They are humans. They're mothers and sisters and brothers and fathers, just like their brothers and sisters and fathers and mothers, and recognize that they're the same, that they need to get along. But it's a very poisonous situation. I totally agree. It's very poisonous. It's one of the worst we've seen in quite some time.
And even if it's not hateful speech, I mean, you've got people like Nobel laureate Aung San Suu Kyi who just said she doesn't even know if the Burmese are citizens. I mean, if somebody like that, who's been a defender of democracy, won't even stand up, where does that leave you?
Yeah,
well,
that was a very unfortunate thing that she needs to be more forthcoming. She needs to clearly say what she thinks. Despite she may be running into risk of losing popular support, but she has the principle. But I want to step back one thing that that gentleman on your guest has touched the base. The Burmese, first of all, statelessness. I want to mention that. Rohingya are made statelessness, but created that. Whether in fact they are stateless, they have their land, they have their state. So whether Burmese government, international community says that it is they are stateless has to be disputed.
About 30 seconds.
Okay. Quickly, I want to mention that these people are not from Burma. They're from Bangladesh. You can see, you look at the last 2, 3, 4 years, they use Muslims, the term. They use Bengalis. And one time they came up, they said, no, they are not Bengalis, they are Muslims, but they are not touching the Rohingya issue. The core of the matter is, if these people are from Bangladesh, there's a solution. If that's the truth, international community, the team can go and investigate and see, can identify them easily whether they're from Bangladesh. This is not a magic thing. Right. So that can be easily addressed, whether the allegation being this Rohingya from Bangladesh or not.
Okay, we are going to talk about that and the possibility of a Rohingya state in the post-show. So John and Dr. Dean, sit tight. But first we want to get to Malika, who's got a couple other stories we're following.
They've targeted governments, corporations, and unpopular internet laws, but the hacktivist group Anonymous is now declaring war on a retailer. Epic troll or insane, French retailer seeks to trademark Anonymous logo. We are not for sale, your Anon news tweets. That's in response to an attempt by early Flickr to trademark the famous headless suit logo and slogan. The retailer already sells t-shirts with the slogan on eBay. Well, Anonymous has launched a campaign to take down the company's pages and their business operation. Have a look.
So what they have done will not go unpunished. Anonymous will take down any business they have going on the internet, and the 99% will not stop until the registration has been revoked and a public apology has been made.
Well, our next leads from the Olympics, where a fencer from Egypt has seen his Twitter followers skyrocket in a matter of hours. Ala El-Din El-Sayed went from several hundred to more than 10,000 followers after becoming the first African to win an Olympic fencing medal. Here you can see his pre-medal followers were so few they didn't register. As a prolific social media user, Sultan Al-Qasimi posted on Facebook, El Sayed has credited the lack of government and media support for pushing him to try harder to win. Let us know what you think of those stories. Tweet us your thoughts using the hashtag AJStream. Lisa?
All right. On tomorrow's show, we're going to talk about China's one-child policy. Online, a graphic picture of a young mother and her aborted child has sparked major discussion. Tweet us your thoughts.
So let's get on the ground.
Welcome back to the Online Post Show. It's streamed at aljazeera.com. We're talking about the Rohingya crisis that's been going on in Myanmar. And Dr. Dean, I want to pick up right where you left off. Continue your thought.
Yes, so the question of these Rohingya are Bengalis infiltrated into Burma illegally to settle economic migrants, so on and so forth. These are not from they are not from here. Okay, so there's accusation coming from Burmese government. Often they use the word also in the past. Tandaya means suspect. Mm-hmm. That means they were suspecting. Okay, so these different kind of terms has been used to describe these Rohingya people. So my question is, why it is so difficult to identify these Rohingya, whether they are truly Rohingya or they came from Bangladesh? Now, their assumption is that they look alike. These people are South Asian face, physical appearance, South Asian. There are similarities in language and culture because of the border. There will be, you go anywhere in the world, people in the border will have cultural exchanges. Right. There are some influenced by Bengali, southern Bangladesh, influence on Rohingya, and Rohingya has also influence on Bengalis. It's a two-way street, but they are not seeing that. So they are basically looking by appearance, religious faith, and then physical appearance, and some cultural ties.
Completely.
The easy way, it's not going to be magic science. If you really are serious, the Burmese government, if you are really serious to find out who these people are, whether all of them are Bengalis, 50% are Bengalis, 90% are Bengalis, or just 1 or 2 Bengalis, we can find them out because there's tremendous difference between Bengalis and Rohingya. So let's get on the ground and get international teams, work with Burmese, identify these folks, we'll help them. And we want to cooperate with Burmese government if there is any illegal Bengalis. That's not going to be difficult, but they are dragging.
I know, John Stifton, with Human Rights Watch, we have lost the picture of you, but we still have your voice. So please chime in here.
Sure. I'm sorry that you lost the video, but on the statelessness issue, it's a little bit of a misunderstanding. I mean, statelessness is typically brought into play when you have people who've been displaced into countries where they weren't born and find themselves there, and then the state that they came from no longer accepts them. That's not what we have here. What we have is lots of people who were born in Burma, who, if Burma had a law that was in compliance with international law, would be citizens. They would be citizens of Burma. And there are others who are citizens of Bangladesh under the same principle. But the point is, the statelessness kind of misses the point. Whether you're stateless or whether you're a citizen, nobody is allowed to be slaughtered by their fellow human beings. That is a human rights abuse no matter where it happens and to whomever it happens.
And this is going on with the full knowledge of the governments of other countries, including the U.S. Recently, President Obama lifted some sanctions against Myanmar. How responsible was it of the U.S. government to do that, given what's going on with the Rohingyas?
Well, this is the question, topic that often came in the media. I work closely with the State Department and Center for Relations, and the lifting of sanctions, I don't believe that there's a right for U.S., but the Europeans have lifted the sanctions. As you know, the United States, Obama has signed to continue the sanctions. So they have not completely lifted yet. They have relaxed the sanctions. So there's a difference between lifting the sanctions and relaxing the sanctions. In their defense, U.S. government, they have lifted the sanctions as incentive for further movement moving forward with democracy. There are some examples of travel restrictions from Burmese officers. There are some non-military related business and so on and so forth, but not energy related. So sanction is there, somewhat lifted, but the question is how much should have been lifted? How much should have been relaxed? The relaxation of sanctions, is it too much? They have done it one time rather than go on phase-by-phase basis.
Make them earn it?
Yeah, they can earn it. They can earn it.
Yeah.
Has the U.S. government given too much? Maybe that's the question to debate. But the thing is that we still have time. The U.S. government and Europeans need to get on board, be more aggressive, get hard on Burmese government. Whatever has given, we don't want them to take it back, but now tell Burmese government, okay, we have given you this, and what do you have on the table? What you can offer? There's the time.
Yeah. Well, that's echoed here among our community. Natty on Twitter says the road to reform is a long way off in Burma. No democracy until Rohingya are recognized citizens in their homeland. But on that note, John, there's a video question from a member of our community. Have a listen. I'd like your thoughts afterwards.
Considering the fact that the Rohingya people have not been educated, they are not formally educated because they've been deprived of formal education by the governments of Myanmar for decades. How would they be able to manage their states if they are being given a state? Do they have the human resources, personalities? Do they have the intellectual capacity to manage the state on their own? And also, what are the possibility of the Rohingya people actually being granted a state under the country of Myanmar? Is this possible for them to have a state on their own? These people have been suffering for decades, and it's time for their sufferings to be put to an end. Thank you.
So, John, in case the audio was a little unclear there, basically that was Samuel, a member of our community from Nigeria, and he says, is it possible for them to have their own state? They've been deprived of education for years. What would their own state even look like?
Yeah, I'm not even going to answer that because it's really a non-starter at this point. I mean, the main thing is what can Burma do to make sure these folks have the human rights that they deserve. Yeah. And on the sanctions issue, what I'd say is it is too soon to relax sanctions, but they've gone ahead and done it, and it's too late for them to be put back in place. I mean, in reality, yesterday, right here in Washington, D.C., the Senate has moved ahead the investment ban renewal on an import ban on Burmese goods to the United States. They renewed it, but the president is going to waive it as part of the relaxation effort anyway. But it'll still exist on the books. To us, that's kind of a moot point. It's over. The sanctions, for all intents and purposes, the sanctions regime has come to an end. And it came to an end too soon, and it's a huge missed opportunity. So at this point, all we can do is hope that the U.S. and other governments will continue to press Burma and use what leverage they continue to have and say, look, if you guys don't get your situation in Arakan sorted out, if you don't have reconciliation, if you don't have ceasefires in the other conflict areas, you don't release the political prisoners, this whole sanctions renewal process will keep on coming up, and you're not going to have these laws go away. It's going to continue to be on the books that there's an import ban on Burmese goods. So, it's very important that you keep this movement forward, because we can turn it around. If you guys really fail, we will turn it around. Now, that's an empty threat, because in reality, the business community is not going to let that happen. But in reality, that's what needs to be said to the Burmese government. If you don't keep the reform moving, you're going to see the sanctions regime stay in place.
Dr. Udine, we've got 30 seconds left. I'll give you the last word.
Yes, this Rohingya issue, I call on international community, United Nations and international community. They have moral obligation to resolve this issue. Without them, we will not be able to fix the problem. If international community cannot resolve this issue through negotiation with Burmese government, it has to bring up at the United Nations Security Council and General Assembly to address this issue, because this is a genocide, this is a serious human rights violations and crime against humanity. So please, we still have time, there's still time, please wake up, please take a step concrete step and to save this Rohingya from extinction.
Dr. Waqar Uddin, John Sifton, to our community, thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.